All right, we are live. Episode number 98. What's going on, y'all? The Holy Ruckus in your ear and in your face. My name is Josh, and we're so excited to have you with us as you're trickling in on YouTube and Facebook Live, but also if you're just listening to us on your own, commute to work or leaving, or you just want to stay awake, or you just want to fall asleep. I got you. And we have two beautiful guests. I am blessed among women. We got Shannon and Marcia with us. And they are really popular right now in the sense that they have a new book out. And so they're going to talk about that. And we're going to celebrate Black culture, Black Catholicism, and just kind of go into that a little bit more because, I mean, there's stuff that I don't even know. And I've never had a chance to read their book. I've been reading samples and trying to get it for free, but we're going to have to pay. So this is free, but the book is not. Let's do this. We're so excited, and I'm just going to stop talking because they're just going to light it up. So here we go.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
Let's bring the ruckus.
Why were you made? I was made to be happy. The way to be happy is to know truth and to love goodness. In other words, I am made for God.
Pero quiero lío en las dioses. Quiero que se salga afuera.
You are now listening to the Holy Ruckus Podcast.
And we are here. Everybody here? Everybody good?
Yeah.
How are we? Good evening.
Good evening.
Doing good.
Yeah.
I have a cold, but
you have a cold?
Okay.
Hey, we wouldn't
that
have
I
known.
somehow did not give to Shannon. I don't know how I did not give you my cold.
You got it on the plane, that's why.
Oh. Masking up in the plane, I hope. I don't know.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Did you like right
Shannon,
next to you? Like Shannon,
Yeah,
you right
no.
next to her? We talking like economy plus? Or how we living? You know, your Ascension Press, authors now. I mean, first class all the way. What are we doing?
No.
Well, it's Ave Maria Press, but no, we are
Oh,
Southwest. No,
Bay
Shannon and I. Yeah, exactly. Shannon and I just spent the last 5 days together. We were in Florida. We went to a wedding and then we went to Disney. And I don't know how she didn't get sick like me. But you know what, Shannon? Fine, don't be sick.
How was that
You're
weather?
welcome.
Was it beautiful out there? Or I thought it was like rainy
Okay.
and stuff. What was it like? Tell me about this Florida weather now.
Okay, it's cold. It was really cold. So over the weekend in Naples, it was fine, like a little breezy. And then everyone kept talking about, oh my gosh, but it's so cold here. It's so cold here. But here's the thing. My Midwest hubris almost got me pneumonia because I was like, it's not going to be that cold. It's fine. It's fine. Both Shannon and I bought sweatshirts within an hour.
It was in the 30s, so I was like, okay, this is legit. Like 30s are legit.
Yeah.
But it was so bad the lizards were falling out of the trees. There were
I know.
I heard about this. So are the lizards like just dead or are they alive?
They're like in hibernation mode, kind of, is what I understood. So their bodies like shut down to protect them from freezing to death.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to touch them or something. Like you shouldn't touch them because they'll come back to life. And I'm like, I don't understand what's happening. I don't know about these zombie iguanas.
Did you touch them?
I did not. I wouldn't touch an iguana on a normal day. So I think we're good. I told you, I'm solidly Midwestern. Like that is a real thing. And I'm like that meme where it's like you're brushing off your car and like, we don't have hurricanes. We don't have we don't have hurricanes. We don't have tornadoes, whatever it is. So we don't have any of those tropical issues that are harmful. We have normal snow issues, and that means no iguanas. So
yes. All iguanas stay inside in the Midwest.
So, okay, Ave Maria Press. We can edit that out. That part where I said another publisher's name. Excuse me.
It's okay.
Maybe that was just me and my subconscious. I was hurt because I had a chance to make it big there. But anyway, your book, Fat Luther, Slim Pickens. But before we go in there, let's talk a little bit more about y'all, about the co-authors, about the ladies behind the beautiful cover in the book. Tell us about yourselves a little bit. Let's go, Shannon. Tell the people that have no idea who you are, or maybe they do, maybe they're big fans, maybe they're not. Introduce.
You're big fans now, everybody.
Yes.
So I'm Shannon. Shannon Wimp-Schmidt. I am a pastoral minister in a parish. I also am now a co-host of the podcast Plaid Skirts and Basic Black with my friend Marcia right here. And I am also married with 4 kids, and I'm married 13 years, which is crazy to believe. I was a baby when I got married, like 23. I'm just out here trying to get enough sleep, writing a book in my free time, so much free time. And I'm also, again, a recovering Midwesterner and living here in Indiana. I live outside of Indianapolis, which I love. And, mostly trying to enjoy having adventures in Indiana. I say I go hiking, quote unquote, but hiking in Indiana is maybe in southern Indiana, there's some good sized hills, and mostly you're just walking flat in the forest. So there's that. But we have lakes, everyone. We have lakes.
I'm not gonna lie to you. So my wife is from Minnesota. And so the rural part of Minnesota, and I drive by, and so we have to take turns, right? So because we're driving and we're crazy, and we just pop everybody in the minivan, all 5 kids, and we just make it work, man. We make it work. And I will have to tell you, me and my wife have to fight over who doesn't get to drive through Indianapolis. I'm like, I don't want to do it. And I end up having to do it. It's killer, man. I don't know what it is.
Here's the thing. There's no.
Because they don't know how to drive. They also don't know how to drive through Indianapolis. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
People don't know that defensive driving. That Chicago defense. It's a lesson, man.
I drive like a crazy person around here because I just do normal Chicago driving. That's where I grew up, in the Chicago area, and here that's real crazy apparently. But here I am. Right. But yeah, there's no public transportation, so everybody drives here, and there's only 3 routes through the city, and right now one of them is completely under construction and shut off, so you can't actually get through the middle of the city on I-70, which is the major east-west highway. So it's just a mess here, everyone. Come to Indianapolis.
Experience Indy.
Oh my gosh! And then what's the biggest event that had the stadium is right there. And
yes, Lucas Oil.
Season, but you didn't make it to the playoffs. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, we just had the national
NASCAR.
Yes. No, IndyCar. Excuse me.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry, you're right. Well, listen, Indy 500. Yeah, the Indy 500. That is a whole thing. Believe me, race day weekend.
Yeah, race weekend. Here at Memorial Day weekend is referred to as race weekend. And I knew I had officially absorbed being a Hoosier when I started calling it race weekend. I was like, oh, it happened. There it is.
You're officially in now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right, Marcia, how about yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing.
Yeah, so I am Marcia Shannon. I am on the other half of Plaid Skirts and Basic Black podcast, born and raised on the north side of Chicago. Most of my family lives on the south side. I am the oldest I have 4 sisters and 3 brothers. But they're not all the same family. So it's I've got a whole branch of Puerto Rican family. So there's a whole thing. And then I have my, regular normal Black family because I'm a whole Black woman. I'm sure you guys have noticed that. Well, that's what our podcast is about, being Black and Catholic. But so I'm a whole lot of things. Do you know what I mean? I kind of realized that just over. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Accurate.
Yes, I'm a whole lot of things, great and challenging, but here we are. So a lot of my identity is just Chicago native, Cubs fan, all day long. And it's weird because my whole entire family is Sox fans, but I will not be deterred.
Okay.
I know. I stay with the Cubbies. I root for I told you I'm a North Sider through and through. I am not. I know. Shannon's whole family is Sox fans, and it's crazy, right? How are we friends, Shannon? I don't even know. I don't know how this works.
It's a story of reaching across the aisles, everyone, and loving your neighbor as yourself.
Authentic friendships, sisterhoods
Yes.
over baseball.
I know, right? No, but all of us. Like, well, my dad played baseball. He was in the farm team for the Yankees back in the 80s. And so we're we're all about baseball in my family. So my sister and I, my brother, we're all about baseball. And my sister doesn't really have like a team, but she's like, it's fine. I'll root for the Cubs with you. And I go, no, you have to decide. It's okay. And so it's just a whole thing. And I'm not married. I currently run a home of high school girls at a place called Mooseheart. It's a childcare residential agency. And I have 12 girls in my home currently, all teenagers. Please, someone help me. I'm blinking twice because I need help. So there's a lot. I used to run a home with boys, and girls are very, very different, but their appetites are not different. Girls will still eat you out of house and home. Like, I was like, what is this? Why is all the food gone?
What do you find yourself buying in terms of like Oreos, like double stuffed Oreos, and like
here's the deal.
Girls
eat more snacks all the time, and boys eat just all your food. So I have to like change my shift. I had to shift because it was like I was buying a lot of food and like ranch, right? And then like some snacks, but they didn't really care. They just ate all my food. It didn't matter. Girls, I have to buy every single snack on the shelf and ranch, and then at dinner they barely eat anything. I don't know.
They're Midwesterners.
We're all Midwesterners. I don't eat ranch, guys. I just want you guys to know that. They dip everything in ranch. I don't even know.
Spaghetti, not spaghetti.
Spaghetti? No, come on.
No, like, but seriously,
you speak from experience.
They have like all their salads. I was like, that's not even like, what are you doing?
I remember,
everything, anything that can be dipped in ranch, and I don't get it. But it's okay. So like everything. So that's what I do. I also I'm an author and I'm a speaker. I cantor at Mass every Sunday here at Mooseheart. I'm just out here living my life.
And it's called Mooseheart?
Mooseheart, yes.
Okay. And did you come up with a name, or was it always that?
No. It's been around. This place has been around for like over 100 years. So do you know like the Order of Moose? Like, you know how like it's a fraternity, like the Elks or the Shriners or the Knights of Columbus. There's like the Moose. So there's like Moose is another fraternity, a fraternal order. And so they started Mooseheart for children of Moose members who passed away and they needed assistance. And so it's over the time it's evolved into anytime a child is in need, like any child with a need can come to Mooseheart. And so it doesn't matter, like, and all the needs are varied, right? We do have children here who are orphans. We have children who are refugees. We have some children here whose parents are incarcerated. We've got children here whose parents are just need a room to breathe, to help them. And like we are able to help them take care of their needs. We give them housing, schooling. When they graduate, they get a scholarship. It's just, and the Moose are our benefactors, and they're incredibly generous. They're always gifting the kids. The kids get, I had a packet, 2 packages for a kid today. It was like, a Moose member sent you more packages. I don't know what to tell you. So like, it's just really great. And I mean, it's great. Like they provide my life here, and I raise these kids, and there are 12 girls in this house right now.
Oh my gosh.
So
it's a lot.
And it was 8 when I left for Florida, and there was 12 when I came back because we had some staffing changes, and they filled my house to capacity, and I have learned that I can never go to Florida again. So that's what happened.
There it is.
You just have to stay there.
That is where it was. Like, I guess either stay in Florida or just never go again. I'm going to Houston in a couple weeks, and I'm afraid about who's going to live in my house when I get back. So I don't know what to tell you.
I'll be sending my 4 children.
Right?
Send them all to Marcia.
Send me.
Right. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. So with every guest that we have, before we get into the nitty gritty, we always like to kind of loosen up. And I feel like we already are there talking about ranch. I mean, You're bringing me back memories. I remember when my grandma found out that you could put ranch on like other items besides a salad. It was a bad day. I was like, her cholesterol, everything was going up through the roof, girl. I was like, Grandma, you can't be putting it on your chicken strips, girl. Like, come on. Anyway, but here we go. So this is overrated, underrated, whatever we say. It's just hot take city. Whatever it is, in terms of whatever comes out. You've been pre-prepped a little bit, but underrated, overrated. Ladies, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. All right, so Catholics into Harry Potter used to be a big no-no in the early 2000s. What do you say? Overrated, underrated? The fact that Catholics are into Harry Potter. What do you got?
Is underrated.
Underrated, yes.
Underrated.
We are total agreement about that.
I'm a Ravenclaw in this house. What's up?
Okay.
Wingardium Leviosa.
There you go. Shannon, do you also dip into the Harry Potter?
Yes, I love that Harry Potter life. I am a Slytherin. I know this about myself. Shout out to my other serpents out there. And I love it. I love it very much.
So then what makes someone like a Ravenclaw and a Hufflepuff or whatever, Gryffindor, like personality wise, how are you a Slytherin? Let's go into that a little bit.
So I can be, this is going to really sound great on a Catholic podcast.
Yes, let's do it.
I can be, I'm very driven, very focused. I am very interested in success, and I can be a little bit manipulative, which is why I need Jesus, and I will not stop at anything to get what I want.
There it is. Hey.
So what I'm saying is Jesus Christ, come and save me, because I am not a good person on my own.
The Holy Spirit, activate.
All of us, right? Holy Spirit, activate.
Hey, give it to him.
Hogwarts magic, activate.
All right. And then Marcia, what you said you're a Ravenclaw?
I'm a Ravenclaw.
What does that mean?
I
don't know what it is.
It's okay. It's okay. It's fine.
Yeah, it's hurting.
It is the house where it's beyond measure is man's greatest treasure, it's treasure for me. It's what we're talking about. We are the ones who like information. We like information. We like processing information, sharing the information. We also like to correct people when they're wrong.
What?
What? Not me.
You never do that.
I am a whole. Actually, I feel like that should be my middle name, Marcia. Well, actually,
that's the @ That's the new name.
That's it. But we are the ones who like information. We like gathering it, sharing it, hoarding it sometimes, and making it known that we have all of it.
There you go. All right. Super Bowl Sunday. Overrated, underrated. Just another day. What do you got?
Overrated.
Overrated, Shannon?
Overrated.
I'm gonna say underrated because
I
love Americana, and that's about as Americana as you can get. I do. There are days where I'm mad at America and I'm still give me all of that nonsense. Bring it. Fireworks, Star Spangled Banner. Get Whitney Houston out there in her tracksuit.
No, don't do that.
Yeah.
She would be a zombie.
Wait,
it's okay.
I didn't want to rest in peace.
I was listen.
Oh no.
We don't want her to rest in peace. I don't need that bad juju. It's okay. No, but I will say this Super Bowl Sunday though I cannot wait for the listen, okay? Okay, so my girls are about to learn halftime. The halftime. My girls are about to learn. They're about to learn that I'm ratchet. They're about to learn that I am both ratchet and holy. And I don't know what to do with that information. But I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do because I'm going to be I'm sorry. Did you just say Mary J, Snoop, Eminem? I'm what is happening? Mm-hmm. So they're going to learn that I grew up in the 90s and I was I was raised by the G code.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see the halftime show. I mean, I asked my students, I'm a high school teacher, so 10th and 11th grade. They're like, what? Eminem's old. Dre, who's that? Who's Mary J. Blige? Was hold
just
up.
Wait. Just wait.
You thought what you thought you knew, you didn't know. I'm gonna watch it all. Like
as long as they don't bring out. Are they going to have like a special guest like they've been doing? They keep finding ways to bring out. Like, I love
That's
this
too
guy.
many
I love
people.
this guy.
Okay,
Are
they
they
can't
bring
bring
out
out
Bruno
another
Mars? Like,
listen,
stop. We're done with. I mean, he's great, but
yes,
3 years in a row, like, or 4 years. Come on.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing, though. The year they brought out Missy Elliott as a special guest,
Ooh.
I just cried.
Oh, I love that. Though.
Remember that happened, and they had a lot of people on stage, and you heard. You're like, what? Like, and I think, you know what I think, actually? I think I'm going to change my answer. I think watching the Super Bowl by yourself is underrated. Like,
okay.
Because it's not a group activity with me. I'm a super outgoing person, but like, I don't really care. I sit and read while the Super Bowl is going on, and I watch the commercials, and I enjoy the game, because I used to be at a point where I was like, if the Bears aren't playing, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what's going on. And
it's been a long time since the Bears have been on the Super Bowl.
I remember it was a long time ago. Yeah, it was in the early 2000s.
06, 07.
It was,
it was not a good look. It was not a good look.
It was. They lost to the Colts, and it was bad. And Rex Grossman was from Indianapolis, and they lost to the Colts.
The first time Rex Grossman has been mentioned on a podcast.
It's a whole thing.
In a while.
No, Kyle Orton was the quarterback.
Oh, Kyle Orton. Yes, it was.
Josh, I know he went to Purdue, which is where my husband went. Kyle Orton was the quarterback. Kyle Orton was the quarterback in the Super Bowl.
For the Bears?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. It was Rex Grossman.
Orton played like the whole season, and I think Rex. I don't know.
No.
Flip-flop. No,
it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. I know, but I'm like, but like, he wasn't a first string though, because I remember it was a whole thing.
They might have subbed him out.
They had to sub, but like they had to they interviewed like Rex Grossman's parents in Indianapolis, and they were like, everyone on the street had like Colt stuff, and they were like, Bears. But also they were like, oh my god.
Right. Yeah, moved here that year. I moved to Indy that year. As a Bears fan, it was a rough year.
Yeah.
Man, okay, this is supposed to be like rapid fire, but I'm like,
oh yeah,
I love this. I love it. I'm good. I'm good. Our viewers are probably like, get to like the depth. Where's the meat and potatoes?
I'm so sorry. This is how we do our podcast.
Not the Bears.
All right.
I apologize.
Selena.
Underrated.
She is underrated.
Underrated.
Listen to
She's
me.
the best. Moving on.
Listen, she is the best. I have loved her since I was in high school, because I was a Spanish minor in high school. I told you I have a Puerto Rican family. I tried to do all the Spanish things, but and listen, okay, she's underrated, and also it drives me crazy how there are people out here wearing her clothes and don't know who she is.
Yes,
I was like,
gosh. It's so.
Do you know about the Chico en Apartamento 512? You don't know about that, do you? You're still like, listen,
intense here.
I get intense. Selena Ones is my paperwork music. When I used to do paperwork, I put on Selena Ones, and then I jam out to get my paperwork done. It's
Shannon, not as passionate about Selena like that.
I love her.
Not to that level.
Love J-Lo in that movie. Love all the songs.
I feel like he took. Yeah,
that's it. That's all we need to say.
Yeah,
I own Selena on vinyl. It's a real thing.
Oh, you really?
Yeah, I'll listen. Didn't I just listen? Yes.
God, take them. And then last, but not least, Kanye West. Yay.
This is a hard. I think I'm gonna have to say overrated.
No, here's the thing.
He just needs some help. He needs.
No, here's my thing. I am conflicted about this.
I love his music though.
Because the real as a whole Swiftie, but also, but here's the thing. I think that Kanye is overrated. When Kanye looks in the mirror, I think he's overrated.
He's wonderful.
But I also think that Kanye's struggles over the past year, at least it's underrated. He's underrated because people are seeing more of his struggles and more of that personality of Kanye, where Kanye really is a genius. So here's the thing.
Musically, absolutely.
College Dropout is amazing. I'm gonna be really real with you.
Start to finish.
And I think people don't see that anymore, and they shouldn't, because the artist should evolve over time. But they don't have that same fire and energy since he decided to love himself so much more. And they see his $9 million slides that are real ugly. But I think that he is underrated as he is an artist. I think Kanye as a whole persona has hurt. Undercut his artistry.
Okay.
You're also asking us to like.
Also, he's Chicago.
Yeah.
I forgot.
We always love him.
He's a home team. Yeah, him, Common, all of it.
Okay.
Seriously.
Common.
Chance the Rapper.
All right, Chance the Rapper all day long.
Where's he been? Was he canceled?
No.
If Chance the Rapper was canceled.
No, he supported someone in a tweet, but I think that he worded it weird, but he went back and talked it out, and I can't remember exactly what happened. But no, I think Chance the Rapper is solid.
I think he's great. I wish his wedding album did better though. I feel like they didn't do so hot. The concept album they did. I was like, all right, that's cool. But
I do remember that. Yes,
it was a flop. Ordinary Time, liturgical season of Ordinary Time. Our liturgical calendar, awesome, many colors, many seasons. But just Ordinary Time is the longest.
It is.
What do you think? Overrated, underrated?
I think it is underrated. We love Ordinary Time.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that.
Really?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. Here's the thing.
Okay.
There's a chapter about it in our book.
We did
read it. There is.
Is it the first chapter? It is.
No.
You can find the miracles in the mundane. Yeah.
Go.
Like there's miracles in the mundane, and I think people don't seek them out, and I think Ordinary Time is underrated because if you don't have why do you celebrate like all the old exciting holy seasons? Like you wouldn't know to celebrate them if you didn't spend some time in Ordinary Time. Everything can't be a party, and that's fine, right?
What? This is not good.
It can't be a party. I know, right? I know the Venga bus isn't always coming, Shannon. So I got something to tell you, and I've got news for you.
I'm
the
not.
Venga bus ain't always coming.
So I gotta take ordinary and make it extraordinary.
No, definitely underrated.
Exactly. Boom.
Go, Shannon. Let him have it.
I was just gonna say I'm a very big fan of like the teachings of Jesus and like hanging out with Jesus in his ministry, a la The Chosen, if you've watched that. And like I just like someday in heaven, I can't wait to chill with Jesus because it's gonna be amazing. Like he's my dude. We'll just like sit and he will like say profound things and then be like, let's have some wine. And I'll be like, great. That's all I wanted from my life.
You'll be like, he'll say, let's have some wine. You'll be like, all I have is this walk. Oh. And then
top me off, Jesus.
Like, I don't know. And yeah, I'm a real extrovert. I'm a real like FOMO person. So,
there you go.
But yeah, I just love like Jesus going out there and being like, you know what, this, and then you're like, my whole world is blown. What do I do now? I'm like, there's so many beautiful things about the other liturgical seasons. I love them. Like that, I wrote my master's thesis on liturgical theology. That is my jam. But
Ordinary Times are baseline.
Like if we want to know who Jesus is, we need to lean into Ordinary Time. That's what we need to do. Also, I'm punching like this, like a weirdo.
It's okay.
No, it's all good. Let's get into it now. We're ready to go in. You got the primer, you got the the first coat. Now let's get into it. Fat Luther, Slim Pickens. That's the title of the new book that is selling right now. Go ahead right now. You can even leave and come back because I want you to go ahead and purchase this joint. Fat Luther, Slim Pickens. But tell me more about the name. I mean, I just went to Luther Vandross. Was I right?
Yes. Good work.
You were.
Tell me a little bit more.
Did you see him on the cover? Little Luther.
Okay. Tell me about the title. Tell about the folks that aren't hip to it. Let us know.
So here's the thing. When you grow up Black, as Shannon and I did, one thing that you understand, there's this argument that's really not an argument. Like which Luther is better, Fat Luther or Skinny Luther, right? Fat Luther is the better Luther. He's always the better Luther. And it's not even an argument. It's just reaffirming that we all love Fat Luther. Even though Skinny Luther has some bops.
He did.
Skinny Luther has some bops, right? But here's the thing. I know it's us saying that Luther, as he was, did not have to change to be accepted and wanted and valued, right? There was value in what he had to offer. He came as his whole self, and we were like, yes. You know what I mean? This is what we want. We want this, right? My mom, solid Luther Vandross, the weddings of all her friends, it was Here and Now was like the whole, like I went to so many weddings, like exactly, like walking down the aisle. That's what it was, right? And so all of it, we, like his Endless Love with Mariah Carey, like it was very much like, it was so, Luther was a whole moment, right? And he still is a moment. Like he's still part of our culture and part of our lives, and like it informs a lot of the way that we sing things and the way that Black love existed, and the way that we celebrated Black love. And it's kind of like we're celebrating Luther as he was, and he did not need to change. And there's a lot said, or not very much, but there was some said about how he didn't accept himself and he had a hard time, and he like his weight fluctuated. He went on diets, he went off diets, and he already had health problems, and it like contributed to his health problems. Like him not accepting himself as he was didn't help, right? And so it's one of those things where Fat Luther, Slim Pickens, like Fat Luther, we love him as he is, and I feel like that's how we have to come. Like we have to come to church as Black women. Church, love us as we are, right? Don't ask us to assimilate. Don't ask us to change who we are, because we're still made in the image of God, and who we are is definitely more than good enough. To celebrate and to worship and to be a part of this church, this beautiful mystery. And sometimes what we get is Slim Pickens. And that's
and there's so much room. There's so much room in this universal church.
So much room.
For all of it.
Yes.
What does the title mean to you? You probably had to sign off on it. Were you like leading the charge on this title, or was it something that you were picking up? Down? What was the real though? Go ahead.
So yeah, this absolutely came from our editor. She's like, I want you to write this book. Here's the title I came up, which was like a different variation on the Fat Luther. But
because she loved that I explained something about it. Like it was a throwaway comment in a podcast episode. And she's like, I never thought about that. Fat Luther is the better look Luther. I need to understand more Black things. And so
yeah, absolutely. And so we were like, why are we okay, well, like try to say this doesn't make any sense, but like here we came up with this. And then there were a couple other titles that were in the mix. We're not going to share one because we're hoping to use it later, but that we really liked. But then a couple other people who were all the authors were like, keep this title. Like this is culturally like so important. And like, while for people outside of Black culture, it maybe isn't going to make a lot of sense. Like for those who are, it's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is a book for Black people. And the interesting thing about that is we've had a couple of reviews, and we actually were recommended, our book was recommended on Essence Magazine, by Essence Magazine as one of the books. I think it was like 56 books they're wanting to read this year, which like, they don't put Catholic publishing books in Essence.
Sorry,
okay, they're not like, yeah, let's like read this Catholic book. Okay. And one of the reasons that we found out is like that title was one of the things that drew them in, and like all of these people were doing these reviews, and we're like, okay, Holy Spirit, you do what you do. Like,
we're going fishing. Yeah,
exactly. Absolutely. But we did fight really hard to get Luther on the cover, so we're really excited that he got on there.
Ask permission, like
we also
I don't know what they did.
Our unofficial patron saint of the podcast.
There you go.
I know he's not a real saint, people. Okay,
well, he's not a Catholic saint. He's not a Catholic saint. Let's be real. Like.
Here we go. So Fat Luther, Slim Pickens, a Black Catholic celebration of faith, tradition, and diversity. And who wrote the foreword? Katherine Whitaker. Who's that?
She's an author friend of ours. She wrote Love. Oh gosh, I have the book.
Live Better, something like that. Sorry, Catherine.
I know. I'm so sorry. She's also an Ave Maria press author. But yeah, I can't remember. But it's got cowboy boots on the front cover. Mm-hmm. But she's it's like
Texas, so it was real
love
Texas.
Big. I know it's real Texas. Like that is a real thing. She is real Texas.
Okay,
she lives in Austin. I actually got a chance to meet her in real life. We became online friends, and then I got to meet her in real life 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. But she wrote the foreword for our book because she journeyed with us through some things during the writing of this book, and we thought that we were like, it was a really great moment where we were like, we need to choose someone for the forward. And we Shannon and I both were like, Katherine needs to write this forward because just, do you know what I mean? Like for the work that needs to be done and the challenges that we lay out for the people in the book, I think like Katherine journeyed with us through some of that. And I think that it was just really good. So
there you go. Is, man, so I guess let's go right in terms of this. What was this process? Was how many years in the making, or was it like months in the making? Like,
okay, so here's the thing. Our podcast started in 2018, so it was it's been 4 years in the making. Basically, it's like our podcast in book form, but not really. It was last year around this time. It was last year, almost a year ago that it was a year ago. In maybe end of January, early February, and it was like a really weird time. And our editor reached out to me, and she's like, "I have this idea," because I'd worked with her before on a different other Mirror Press project. And like Shannon and I talked, and we're like, okay. And we like within 2 weeks, we came up with an outline and what we wanted and submitted the book proposal. Like here's the thing, that whole time, like it's all been a blur. And so, but it was the end of January when she reached out. And then it's been, so here we are a year later. But it took us and here's the thing, we were on the end of the acquiring season. And so it was like, we kind of just got like scooted in there. So we had a lot less time than a lot of other authors who have books coming out in the spring. And so it was like, our book got picked up in March. She's like, officially it got picked up. And then she's like, okay, great. Can you have it done by June 1st? Like it was like March 11th. Like we had 12 weeks, and that was the thing. We were like, we got 12 weeks to write 12 chapters. Ready, break. And so it was Google Docs, Google Docs activate.
Thank you, Google, for supporting our book.
Thank you,
free version.
Right. So
that's what's up. Okay. And then when you go into like, I want to write this book, like yes, there's so many things that you're hoping to include, and you can't do it all, right? In terms of thematically what you want to do, but you also are motivated by like, I mean, your audience, like who is this for? Like, who are you writing this for? Like,
absolutely.
Well, we had two audiences. Shannon, do you want to take this? I feel like I'm talking a lot.
You've been talking a lot.
Yes, I have been, but it's okay.
It's fine. Why am I even on this podcast?
I know. What?
Yeah, so we have a couple, audiences. One, I think, primarily other Black Catholics. Like, there's not a lot in Catholic media that's aimed towards us. That's why we started our podcast. It's a voice that's missing from the Catholic media spaces. So that's first and foremost. I think we also wrote this for other Catholic women, because we do talk about our experiences of women. Not that men can't enter into the conversation.
Wait, is this for the ladies?
It's for both.
It's for both.
Somewhat.
But girls do run the world.
Yeah.
So.
Queen Beyonce told us. So here we are. And then I would also say that, like, this is for the church in general, like the church that wants to enter not only into learning more about Black culture, but also how that experience is lived out in a Catholic context. And it's also a way, I think, to share, to kind of make those connections between cultures. I'm a biracial person, if you couldn't tell from the color of my skin. Like I've lived my whole life kind of bouncing between cultures and figuring out two cultures just in my own family. And sometimes the easiest way to connect to another culture is to look at those things that we share. It's not just like food and music or whatever, but also like it's easy as a Catholic to help understand certain concepts because we already know what's shared in our faith. And so our hope is that this is a way for people to do that and to also start really talking about those questions of race, of ethnicity, of culture, in a way that's positive. We're not going to like back away from hard questions. You'll see that if you read the book, like both Marcia and I talk about instances where we were, discriminated against, or perhaps, I think I was just reading the book today because I needed to do a couple things for promotions. And I talk about an experience where I really thought that, if I was a darker skinned person, I might not have made it home that day. I mean, like that's a reality of where my life was in this moment. And so we're not going to sugarcoat that, but we're also not here to make people feel like, you have to sort of like run kicking and screaming away because you're going to be completely uncomfortable. We want you to lean into the discomfort if you have some.
Yes.
We're not gonna say it's not gonna make you feel happy and wonderful about race in America. But also, hopefully it's also a lighthearted look at how our culture is important to us, how it impacts our faith, and how it impacts how we live in the world. So it's a way to look at that less from our perspective of like doing some racial justice work, and more like, let's talk about who we are and what we love about being Black, and hopefully bring that to the church as a gift.
Yeah. And it's also hopefully like people are encouraged to do the work. Like, and here's the thing. Every culture has work to do. And I think that like, as like, it's not just for saying like, hey, white people, stop being racist and do this work. It's also, I'd say all the time, like it's a love letter to Black people too, where it's like, hey, do the work and bring your whole self and stop holding back. Do the work and understand like how to start like accepting, bridges that are being built, and maybe trust a little bit, or you know what I mean? Like things like that. Like sometimes it's okay to just trust. I'm not a trusting person. That's a real thing. Shannon knows this.
Yes.
So, but like say like it's okay to do the work, like whatever work needs to be done so that we can actually create a community and be the body of Christ. So I feel like so my sister, like my stepmom is Puerto Rican, and she's like, it's about Black Catholics. Like, is that something I can read? I was like, yes, ma. Like, you know what I mean? Like, read this book. So she.
Oh, that was real Chicago of you right there. Yes, ma.
Like no, because when we're like getting like like that's like we all call my son. I'm like ma, but like it's so her and my sisters like they feel like they can read it. Like I feel there's something in there for everyone. They're not I mean, my sister is half Black, but like they're not, Black or Catholic, but there's something there for everyone who wants to grow and build community and be fully a part of the body of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And with that, you mentioned you hit on it a little bit, Shannon, but what was the lack that you saw in the church that kind of said, you know what, like not only does this book need to happen, it needs to happen now in 2021, 2022. What was percolating during that time that was like,
I know.
Paying attention to the world.
So yeah, for those that might not, be on anything.
Under rock. So obviously a lot of things that happened around, when George Floyd was killed, and when sort of all of the Black Lives Matter protests really kicked into gear. We had started our podcast sort of 2 years before all of this happened, and we're really like, this is a gift we can bring to the church. We maybe had like 30 listeners at first. It got up to like 100. We're like, woo, this is great. Like we were very excited. And as Marcia will say, we were building the plane while we were flying it. We were kind of like figuring it all out. If you go back to some of those early episodes, you're like, they didn't quite know what they were doing. But now
it's okay, though.
It's okay.
There's fruit.
Everybody learns. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. And so we were kind of, we saw a need and decided to do this. And then, of course, when 2020 happened, lots of people were looking for Black voices. And I think, again, to kind of go back to my earlier point, a lot of Catholics were looking for Black Catholics because it was an entry point into understanding this perspective from where we already are familiar and comfortable. And so kind of came to us and found us. And one of the things that Ave has been really great about, Ave Maria Press, is that they're trying to diversify their authors, and they would be the first to admit, like, yeah, we published a lot of white people. There's a lot of white people on staff, and and they have been so great in affirming us in listening to us about, what is important culturally and how we go about, marketing and writing this book. And as Marcia said, they reached out to us. But I think one of the things that we really felt was needed in writing this book was not to write another book on racial justice in the church, because there are already good books on that. Father Brian Massengale has a wonderful book called Racial Justice in the Catholic Church. You should check it out. But, like who we are, who our podcast is, what we want to bring to the church is about, celebrating our faith, celebrating our culture. And we're a really lighthearted kind of duo. Like if you listen to our podcast, you can probably guess that. Like we're going to talk about pop culture and music and ridiculous things. We're going to quote, 30 Rock. And we wanted to bring that same energy to this book to give people a celebration. Really, it's in the title. We wanted to celebrate something. And again, we can't have a celebration of Black culture without talking about race, because it is the reason that both Marcia and I live in America is because our ancestors were brought over as enslaved people. That's why we're here. It doesn't mean we hate America or that we don't want to be here.
Shannon has proven that with all of her America.
Shout out to Indy 500.
Shout out to the Indy 500. Let's sing Back Home Again in Indiana. But to really be a celebration, to be something that, if you're a mom, our first chapter is all about Advent and like how we just kind of fake it till we make it. So if you're a mom or a dad who's just trying to get through, you're going to relate to that. If you are a person who, really loves rom-coms, we've got 2 different rom-coms in there for you that you can talk about, right? Like it's everything. And yet at the same time, as we always say on our podcast, like we're always going to bring it back to Catholic. Like we're going to figure out.
We're always going to make it Catholic. We always make it Catholic.
Sometimes it makes no sense, but we made it Catholic.
And in that you're making it Catholic. I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, someone on my coaching staff. I coach football, and he's a deacon in his church. Shout out to my coach, and he's hardcore. He's not Catholic, but he wonders why I am and how I still am. And we talk, and he looks at some of my Catholic content episodes, and he's like, I love this. This is cool. You did that? That's cool. Like, who do you have on your podcast? And I'm like, and I'm sharing, you guys for tonight. And he's gonna watch this later on. And he was.
Hi, Coach.
Hi, my uncle is also a deacon in the church. Yay!
Yeah, shout out to the deacons, servants at the altar. They don't just set the table, but they do so much more. But
yes.
And I remember him just honestly like kind of looking at me. He's like, so when you gonna just realize like maybe you just gotta jump ship and go to another church maybe. And maybe you've had these conversations already. Why are we still Catholic, ladies, when we see kind of the imbalance and the lack in terms of the racial diversity and the celebration of Black culture? Because sometimes when we talk about these things and we're making a holy ruckus, and I believe that's why you're here. Like I'm like, these ladies are making it happen. Whether I get them on the pod or not, I got to get on that. And I remember someone saying when the George Floyd stuff happened and we started doing like, panels, and we had our girl Ogechi, Get Me If You Can.
Yeah. We know Ogechi.
Yeah, she's my girl.
We spent the weekend with her too.
I heard. And so I saw on IG. And I remember people were asking us like why we're doing this panel and why can't we just be Catholic? Why can't we just almost like like paintbrush? Like you're Catholic though, you're universal though. It's implied. What this creates division. Why are you separating us? And I was just like,
I have so many opinions about this.
So I'm giving you a lot here, but why are we still Catholic, ladies? I know why I am, but I would just love to hear that Catholicity come out with the culture, with what you're doing. Who wants to start? Who wants to go?
Okay. So Shannon's like, yes. So I get asked this all the time. I grew up Protestant. I'm the only Catholic in my family. And I get my family has stopped asking me, but the short answer is the church and what the church has to offer is so much greater than the failings of the people of God.
Amen.
And I think that sometimes we want, like, it's not, we can't judge the church by, like, I know you're saying, like, you judge it by our people, but like the church is so much more. Like, we're all flawed humans out here doing flawed human stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And if we judge like the mysteries and the blessings and the grace and the awesomeness and if we discount that because people are rude and ignorant, frankly, then we missed out on a whole lot. Like, we're doing ourselves a disservice. And if we're having trouble with the people of God, we should do what Jesus says. We should bring it to them and let them know, like, hey, you've hurt me and you've sinned against me, and if they don't listen, you bring someone with you. Do you know what I mean? Like, he literally gives us a guidebook how to deal with conflict within our church, within our community. So that's the short, really simple answer. But then at the end of the day, I am still here because of the Eucharist. And I think that's why a lot of people are still here. There was a time where I learned, like, after being solidly Catholic for 20 years, that I learned that my baptism was invalid. Like, while we were recording an episode of our podcast about
it was my fault.
Like, Shannon mentioned it, and I was like, wait, what?
What, they got the formula wrong?
Well, I was baptized Protestant, and I was baptized in Jesus' name. And when I became Catholic, the priest was like, you're baptized. I'm like, yes. And he's like, at a Christian church. I was like, oh yeah, we were saved and sanctified. Right. And so, like, it was a whole
Trinitarian.
thing. And so and then when Shannon was like, she was giving this whole thing, she's like, yeah, you have to baptize in Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And if you're not, that's okay. We'll rebaptize you. And I'm seeing her like, and I'm listening to her, like, we're recording. And I was like, I'm sorry. My fell out of my head.
Rewind.
Right. And so she basically, like, on the podcast, and like, we had to stop recording, and I had like a whole meltdown, and then we had to collect ourselves and finish recording the episode. And then this was while everything was going out. This was before the book deal, before like a really major faith challenge happened, like last year, before a lot of things. And I was really having a hard time with the church as is. Like, I was having a hard time with the people of God, like the people of God in power, not dealing with the people of God who were not living up to their baptismal promises. And I think it was like, maybe this is my out. Maybe this is how I go. And no one would blame me. But I had to go cantor on Sunday. And I went to cantor on Sunday, and I told the priest, I was very quiet. I was like, hey, I just learned my baptism is invalid. We're going to have to fix it through the diocese, and we'll figure it out. But just so there's not a commotion, I'm going to step out. And then, so don't try to give me communion. Right. Because I knew, right, now that the whole time, like, once you know, you can't go and participate, Right. And so I stepped back, and I was in the wings, and communion was happening. And then I walked out. Well, I like stepped out during like the prayers, and when he started distributing, when he went out to the people, I came back on and I sang the communion song, and I watched people receive, and I was just holding back tears because I was no longer invited, and not in a horrible way, not like in a, do you know what I mean? It was like, I was like, no. I actually need to be here. Like, this needs to be part of my faith life and my spiritual journey. And that is really literally the only thing that has kept me in. If I didn't have that moment, if I didn't have to cantor that Sunday, if I would have had more time away, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Shannon didn't drop the bomb on you on the podcast.
Yes,
I know, right?
I mean, I'm glad I did, though, because we don't want to mess around with that. Like,
no, right? I'm literally her child's godmother.
But don't mess with it.
That's, a funny story that actually happened in this diocese, like locally. An elderly priest used the wrong form, used the wrong words at the baptism, and so they had to call people back and say, "Hey, the form was incorrect."
Yeah,
and so
Yeah, we take our sacraments seriously, which is a good thing because it's the only thing keeping me in the church.
Okay. That's what you're saying, Shannon. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, you? No, you're good. You're good.
FaceTime call coming in. Everybody, sorry about that.
I was coming to you anyway. Yeah, so why bother? Why stay? Especially with the way things are, with the racial issues in this country, how we're not talking about it. Why bother?
So one of the things I talk to my kids about it all the time because, like, they're, you know, like the beautiful thing about kids is they will ask you those hard questions and you'll be like, because the church said so. Like, that's not a real answer you can give a child because that's not going to be enough.
Especially not for children. That's not real.
They're super smart and I love that. But also, like, thank God I have theology degrees because I don't think I can deal with them otherwise. So, but you know, like for me, this is where the sacraments are. This is where the church is. And I love the church's tradition, right? Like it's true teaching, the heart of the faith, the deposit of faith. If you read the catechism, if you read, you know, the church fathers, all the doctrine, the dogmas, like that is beautiful. And that's what I want for my life. You know, and I work with wonderful priests. Like I'm not complaining about my bishop's wonderful. Like all of these things are good for me. But you know, I was very over it. You know, I was very over Catholics, including some in positions of power, some in media who are very influential, saying that basically, because I was born to certain parents, I shouldn't, and I'm not worth anyone's time. I am not equal. And the church has treated Black people that way throughout American history. From, you know, for the past 400, 500 years, that is how it has been if you study Black Catholic history in America. But, you know, what I say to my kids is, one, I'm here because I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. I love him. And this is where the fullness of life in Christ is for me. And no person is going to take away the gift of the sacraments from me because it's not the person. No human being can take that away from me. No matter what they think of me, no matter what they think of my value, God loves me so much that he would give his very self for me. And he does that every day in the Eucharist. And they're not going to keep me from my church and my sacraments. And then also, you know, and I say this to people who are kind of like more progressive leaning, I guess, quote unquote, like in the church for politics or whatever, because I think sometimes they feel very marginalized depending on where they live. In our area, it's kind of more of a conservative area. Like there's nothing wrong with, we need conservatives in the church too. All of you, come, all of you.
Everybody. All are welcome. All are welcome in this place.
You're all welcome. But, you know, my thing is like, if I leave, who is left for the people who need me and who need someone who gives my witness?
Right.
Who is there to be the voice at the table, to be the thorn in the side, to be that person who is advocating? And here's the thing. Jesus never promised us that the church would be perfect. He doesn't say that. He says that the church will, you know, the gates of hell will not prevail over the church.
Right.
And he also, we also see throughout the church's history that to be a saint, to be a prophet, requires sacrificing yourself. It doesn't mean that you're going to live a long and holy and healthy life. I hope everyone does. That should be the case for everyone. If I don't have to be martyred, I don't want to be. Thank you.
I have no interest.
No interest.
Yeah, I'm good.
Right, I will, but no interest. However, right, my call is not to be a person who just sits in the corner and like lets the church be. My call is to holiness and to be a saint. And that might mean that I have to be out here doing things I don't want to do. Marcia can tell you, I am not really into conflict. Not one bit. So, but you know, I will. And when I get going, I'm not going to stop because, again, right, not only do I have just as much right as anyone to be here, but the Spirit of God is working in my life, and God is bringing a voice to the church through me, through every one of you here, in whatever culture you're in, whatever biological sex, right, whatever, like pick a category. God picked you exactly as you are. He picked me exactly as I am to bring something to the church that no one else can bring in my time, in my place. And so, you know, I'm perfect. No. Do I have moments where I need to confess, where I need to repent? Absolutely. But if the church doesn't have my voice as a woman of color, as the individual that I am, then there are things that are going to be lost. And I don't want to lose one thing from the body of Christ. I don't want any of you who are listening, I don't want to lose you from the body of Christ, because every time we lose someone from the body of Christ, we lose out. We lose out on the beauty and the gift that you are to the world. So please bring your voice, bring your love for whatever it is, gaming, dancing, like whatever it is, bring it to the church, because like Pope Francis, he's the other thing keeping me in the church. Like Pope Francis says, like, you're coming out here to make a mess, so let's make a mess. Let's make a ruckus.
That's what we're doing. And so, yes, to all those things. I got like St. Paul vibes when he talks about the body of Christ. Then I got like Sister Thea Bowman vibes from what you're saying in terms of you bring your whole self, right? Your whole Black self, your whole Latin self. Like, bring that all. That shouldn't be an aside. It shouldn't. It should be a total, all wholesome part of you, and that's what we want. And that's what's. And that's why we do what we do with the Holy Ruckus and whatever medias we're trying to do, and use these platforms to try to go fishing and to bring people that, another person that can empathize with your experience. And then if we listen to those negative voices, if we listen to those, wolf in sheep's clothing that are gonna, just, piss on, but piss on our work and say like, nah, the church doesn't need that though. It's like, no, screw you. Like, come on now. Like, we do need this. And it lets you know that there's a lot of work to be done still. And so with that said, I want to kind of go back into the book here. It talks about like what you are wanting to celebrate. And I really believe in big time on like the integration of like, it's not your faith is here on what you do on Sunday, and then here is Black culture, here is your American culture, here's everything else. Like, there's got to be a full integration of it, because you are the integration of your body and soul and all that. What are some things that, without giving too much away, a little sneak peek of, you talked about liturgical seasons right away, Advent. What are some saints or specific Catholic culture things that you were able to share and integrate into this book?
One of the things we talk about is Our Lady of Guadalupe. We love Our Lady of Guadalupe. She's amazing. I just came off a coughing fit, so sorry, everybody.
Oh, I know.
We talk about her and how like we use her as an example to talk about appreciation versus appropriation. And because that's a lot of things that happen, in our church and things like that, and how enculturation is already there. Like, that's Shannon's favorite word. Enculturation already exists. And we talk about how we have Our Lady of Guadalupe is a huge part of, a lot of people have a devotion to her. We celebrate that day. It's beautiful, and it really helps us understand our faith a lot. She is really amazing. We have, can we say what we call her, Shannon? Should we say it? Should we say?
Go for it.
Our Lady of Guadalupe, she's a G. We say that. It is in it is in black and white.
She's an OG. She is the OG.
So we call her OLG. She's the OLG.
Absolutely. I'm with it.
And so we like that. That's one of the big ones, and that's an earlier chapter. I think it's like chapter 3, right? Or
somewhere
2.
in there.
I can't remember. Somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there.
But yeah, you catch our vibe right away. You catch our vibe right away. And she is like, and there are people out there when I'm like, once I said her, like, she is a G. I was like, she really is. Like, she came, like, she was like pursuing Juan Diego and pursuing his heart, and remind him of the things, how he was good enough and how he was great enough, and he was just enough. And so I think like just all of that. Amazing. So that's one of my favorite chapters. Yeah, actually.
Chapter 3.
Yeah. And so the whole book is basically looking at our Black culture and our Catholic faith, our individual Catholic faith, and our Catholic faith as a universal church through the lens of the liturgical year. So each chapter has a different liturgical season or feast that goes with it, and then we kind of touch on a cultural point from there. So the very first chapter, which I think you can see a preview on Ave Mary, is called is Advent, and it's called Janky Liturgical. And it talks about how our liturgical living, so our way of living the liturgical year, is just a little bit janky. Like there's just some things that aren't always picture perfect. And so we also talk about that. But we also have a different companion for each of the liturgical seasons. Mostly it's saints and venerables and blesseds. Sister Thea Bowman's in there, one of our favorites. Augustus Tolton, who we love too, who's in a venerable. But we also have like Pope Francis, because he's a G too. So like, he needs some love in there as well. And you'll also see different pieces. We call them Black History primers. So for people who aren't familiar with Black history, if there's something that we're talking about that relates to something you need to know. In one instance, I talk about African-American genealogy. So we kind of do just a little little breakout of like, what's the general stuff you need to know so that you can like enter fully into this conversation and understand where I'm coming from as a Black person, which would not necessarily be something that like Marcia would need to know. I'd be like, hey, this guy with my same last name said this, but he was white. She'd be like, oh, I know what that means, right? So like, but many people wouldn't know that. Read the book to find out.
No, I love that. So there's actual like an aside, like a little sidebar conversation of you're just priming people for things that maybe isn't exclusive to their background. And so you invite them in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So appreciation versus appropriation is one of those in that Our Lady of Guadalupe chapter. We talk about colorism. We talk about the 3/5 compromise, if you're familiar with that. And there's a couple other things that are in there. So you can, kind of get a quick primer. And then at the end of the book, we also have different resources to read a little bit more about some of the topics that we've covered in the chapters. So, that idea of if we had, we talk a little bit about African-American genealogy. So there's a book there that you can read to kind of like delve more into that. And I have screaming children.
Go ahead. My battery died and I had to switch up cameras. You're good. So, ladies, as we come to the end, ladies and gentlemen, so much for joining us. We are about to go wheels down. We're about to land this plane. And again, if you're listening to us for the first time, go ahead and like and subscribe and follow at The Holy Ruckus for every podcast every week. And my co-host, Father Pat, he was here, but he's on a silent retreat right now, which is very hard because he's not a quiet guy. He's
I feel that.
I love silent retreats. I know that seems weird, but I love a good silent retreat. I do.
No, it is good, but not for my man. So I mean, it's Irish Catholic, loud mouth, and he.
This speaks to my heart.
There's no way, bro. There's no way you're gonna outside. You're gonna have to go to like Wawa or something because it's too much. Who are you fooling? And so, yeah, I'm praying for him, and he's praying for us and the success of y'all's ministry. And he's bummed he couldn't be here, but and I'm good now. I got my camera. But anyway, let's get into it. The final question here is, what gives y'all hope? I mean, here we are, and people are coming out. Stories are coming out left and right. Black stories, Black saints. Things are happening, and everybody's doing their part. Like, yes, it is Black History Month, and to do it authentically and to call out things. And so, at least in my class, what I'm doing, I'm introducing some saints, and it's really sad, but it's also hopeful because they're learning about these saints. But I'm like, y'all don't know who these guys are. You don't know who Sister Thea Bowman is. You don't know who Josephine Bakhita is. Like all these, and so there it is. But for you guys, as you get this book is out, the baby's out into the world, right? What's your what gives you hope here in 2022 in terms of the work that you guys are doing?
Gosh, Shannon, you first.
So
one of the things I definitely see is people who are really trying to create new spaces for diversity in the church. So people like yourself, people who are like, there's nothing wrong with what's out there, but like we need younger voices. We need Latina and Latino voices. We need Black voices, Asian voices, all of these things. And they're saying like, hey, if it's not in your standard media, like let's just go build a table, like, because we are the church, and like we are needing to be here, and that's wonderful. And like I think, like those things need to be out there, and that's been giving me a lot of hope lately. And also just seeing the willingness of people to go beyond what's been offered in our parishes and all of that stuff, to say like, hey, this is great, but maybe could we get this saint or that saint or do more, and to just celebrate that the church is so much more than, Saint Therese and Saint Francis, who I love,
right?
Like OG, my favorites. Okay. But that like maybe we can find new inspiration for living in our day and age from these other people, because their reality speaks to our reality. So I think that's wonderful too. I'm going to
go do it. All right. Real quick, what gives you hope in 2022 in terms of the work that you're doing and the work of this book?
Well, the things that are giving me hope right now are that there are other Black voices that people are seeking out, right? It's not just me. People aren't just like, oh, Marcia, you're the only person, right? I mean, it's okay, right? I can be the spokesperson for all the Black people because I'm super adorable and it's fine. But I think that's what's giving me hope, is that it's not just me anymore, right? It's not just me. It's not just Shannon. There are other Black voices. Also, my goddaughter, who just showed up on screen, is also giving me hope, because I love her very much. But that's so those are the things that people are seeking out other voices, and the work is not on me. And as a Black woman, I think a lot of the times, in a lot of my experiences, in a lot of spaces, I am the only one or one of few Black people, and the work does fall on me. And I think that it's really great that that's not what's happening anymore.
That's what's up. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, you've been rocking with the best, the Holy Ruckus podcast. Make sure again to like and subscribe and to share this conversation, get it out there, especially the work that they're doing, not just on their podcast, but their new book here. And so I'll put it in the ticker, follow PSBB podcast. And all the things, we're going to put this out there into the interwebs so that we can find it. And so there it is. But ladies, thanks so much again for being with us and rocking with us. And we hope to have you back again. Anything else? Last minute stuff? What do you got?
No. Listen to Taylor Swift's Red, her version. Taylor's version's out there. Just saying. Selena on vinyl.
Yeah, all those things, and get the book and buy the book.
Also buy our book.
Yes, AveMariaPress.com.
There you go. Okay, and then Shannon, anything else? Oh, you're good.
Just love your family and love your friends. Yeah. That's it.
There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much again for rocking with us, and we'll see each other again real soon. And then where's the audiobook? Is there an audiobook version coming out? What's going on?
Okay, here's the thing.
Maybe.
Buy the book so that they know people want it, and then they'll let us do an audiobook version of it. Because I think that's what they have to see, how much interest is in the book. But we're ready. I have had 3 people ask me today about the audiobook, and I was like, we want to do it. So
buy a book and we will give you an audiobook.
We will get you an audiobook.
I mean, maybe not free, but it will get out in the world.
You will
get it out there.
Available.
Ladies, hang on. As we close here, hang on. And for the rest of us, we'll see you later. See you next week.
Bye.